The price of peace. Choosing dignity over toxic family harmony. The moment Renee Carter walked into the opulent lobby of the Coastal Paradise Resort, she held a secret more valuable than the polished marble and crystal chandeliers surrounding her. She owned it all. Yet, she allowed herself to be treated like an inconvenience, a burden, or, as her daughter-in-law Valentina so venomously declared, just the help. This stark contrast between her immense, hidden power and her outward, accepted humiliation is the crucible of a powerful, painful truth. Preserving an illusion of family harmony often requires sacrificing personal dignity. Renee's lifelong struggle was not with building her hotel empire. It was with being a mother who desperately sought love and validation from the very people she cherished. She had built her success in isolation, hoping that her son, Jay, would love her for the person she was, not the money she had. This desire morphed into a passive acceptance of his and Valentina's cruelty. For years, she played the role of the generous, quiet, accommodating mother, covering mortgages, paying tuitions, and bankrolling lavish trips, all because she believed that silence and sacrifice were the only paths to keeping her family in her life. The illusion of peace. The early scenes of the trip perfectly illustrate the high cost of this chosen silence. As the family arrived, Renee was immediately relegated to the role of an afterthought. She wasn't an honored guest. She was an unpaid nanny and a convenient punching bag. When Valentina publicly shrieked her humiliating insults in the hotel lobby, Renee's initial, reflexive reaction was not to strike back with the truth, but to retreat. "I wanted to disappear, to run from this beautiful lobby and never come back." This feeling of shame was her mind's defense mechanism against a deeper, more frightening emotion, the knowledge that her own son was complicit. Jay's laughter, his casual dismissal of her pain, "Mom, Dawn, make a big deal out of it," confirmed that the harmony Renee was fighting for was entirely one-sided. She was enduring abuse to maintain a structure that only served her abusers. Even after the initial betrayal, Renee remained locked in her pattern. She agreed to watch the children for hours while Jay and Valentina enjoyed the spa treatments she was secretly paying for. She swallowed her outrage when her grandchildren, poisoned by Valentina's lies, questioned if she was a house cleaner who fabricated stories of success. Every nod, every swallowed word, was a deliberate choice to keep the peace. But what kind of peace is purchased with a coin of humiliation? It is an empty, desolate peace, one that leaves the soul hollowed out and left only a shell, as Renee described her waking hours in her room. This is the central conflict of the story, the realization that the relationship she was fighting to save was not a loving bond, but a parasitic arrangement built entirely upon her sacrifice and her silence. The catalyst for change. The turning point was not the initial humiliation, but the cold, calculated cruelty Renee overheard from the cabana. Hearing her son and daughter-in-law discuss her death as a long-awaited vacation, mocking her as useless, and planning to discard her into a government-run home, the moment she became an inconvenience, shattered the last remnants of her self-deception. This wasn't just a casual lack of respect, it was a total dehumanization. They were not merely spending her money, they were actively stripping her of her dignity and legacy, transforming her decades of hard work into a punchline. This wasn't just about money or respect. This was about a complete lack of humanity. In that moment, the pain that had been a dull, constant ache transformed into a cold, hard, unwavering resolve. Renee recognized that by staying silent, she wasn't protecting her family, she was enabling their monstrous behavior and confirming her own worthlessness in their eyes. The time for keeping the peace was over. The fight for her life and her legacy had begun. Reclaiming the voice and the veto. The ensuing confrontation in the hotel room is the climax of this theme. Renee's voice, which had been gentle and tentative for years, was now full of power and resolve. She didn't just reveal her ownership, she reversed the power structure entirely. The moment Jasmine, the front desk manager, confirms the truth, that Renee is the sole owner of all 17 of the Coastal Paradise properties and the CEO, is the definitive victory for dignity. It transforms Renee from the victimized help to the powerful, respected matriarch. Jay and Valentina's shock and fear were not merely about losing money. They were about the abrupt loss of their control, their fantasy shattered by the very person they scorned. Renee's final actions, cutting off all financial support and forcing their immediate checkout, were not acts of petty revenge, but acts of radical self-preservation. She was teaching her son the lesson she should have taught him years ago. There's a cost to disrespect, and that cost is exclusion. The real legacy. Renee's story concludes with a profound realization. It took me far too long to learn that being alone isn't the same as feeling lonely, and that sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the one you're born into. The peace she finds is not the hollow peace of silence, but the authentic peace of self-respect. Her decision to face the truth, reclaim her voice, and prioritize her dignity over a toxic family dynamic served as a vital lesson for herself and a powerful testament for anyone suffering in silence. She learned that she was, unequivocally, worth fighting for. In the end, Renee Carter proved that the greatest empire she built was not her chain of 17 hotels, but her own unwavering sense of self-worth. She walked away from the fabricated harmony and stepped into the real, lasting peace of a life lived with integrity.